jy maar net bestaan. Voel jy asof die lewe sonder jou aangaan einde, wat ek sonder twyfel weet. Jy is nie net 'n nommer nie, en jy is deel van die groter prentjie. Daar's 'n rede dat jy lewe, 'n doel vir jou bestaan. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons allemaal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Jy weet, baie druppels maak 'n brander, en jy weet, die son skyn oor ons almal en einde, wat ek sonder twyfel weet. Jy is nie net 'n nommer nie, en jy is deel van die groter prentjie. Daar's 'n rede dat jy lewe, 'n doel vir jou bestaan. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons allemaal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Daar's 'n plekkie in die son vir jou en my, 'n plekkie elkeen het 'n doel gekry. Al voel jy soos 'n sandkorreltjie klein wat in die grootste duin verdwyn. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons allemaal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag. Jy vat my die hoogste hoogte in die arend en die ander in die wind. Ons allemaal is maar sandkorreltjies klein, maar saam is ons die mooiste dag.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up.
This is Chris Report, and he assured you that St. Simon's down in Boulders folks. This is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Today is May 5th, 2020, and we share in a common psychosis brought to us by the likes of the Democratic and Republican establishment in Washington, D.C., the lunatics around the world who control the world, and, of course, also the African National Congress, a shared delusion that this is an effective means to protect people. No, it's an effective means to imprison the world and steal liberty. And all of us know what this experience was. I myself have a medical condition now, consequence of the stupidity of wearing that. It's called rosacea, because of the shared insanity by politicians who forced upon us a suppression of our liberty and of our basic human rights. We have not forgotten their scam, their shame, their dishonor. Stronger together in a shared delusion. Stronger together in a shared delusion. Just a couple of moments of wearing that, my face has already begun to break out in rosacea from this scam that was perpetrated on us by political frauds the world over. Welcome back to the program, folks. It is Sunday, May 5th, and I'm Chris in central Pennsylvania. No, I am not Indiana Jones. All right, so welcome back. Let's see who's in the chat here. This is our third broadcast of the day. Wow, it's really piling on here, isn't it? Hendo is here at the beginning, and Dylan Combrick, as always. Alter Bridge in from down under, if I'm not mistaken. Allison Johnson, George Steinberg, always saying hello from Hackport. Richard Lemmer. Richard, we had a guest on. I think you knew who that guest was. I hope you enjoyed it. James Bowie's back again. What does planky mean? What's this? I don't know. What's planky? You mean Pleka. Pleka, a place in the sun. A place. A Platz. In German, it's Platz. Joe Niemanson missed these broadcasts. Well, go back and watch them after the fact, Joe. Appreciate it. What do you mean missed these? You mean my news programs? I've been back on for over a week now. You've been absent. I've been back. As far as what's walking there and sweating uncomfortable jeans when I saw Lister, I didn't know those are not the lyrics of A Place in the Sun for you and me. Shawnee says, yes, sir. Ron is in from Bloemfontein. Welcome. Wolf K. And Gus is here. Great discussion with Neil from UIM. Well, I enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. You can see that I took some copious notes during the broadcast here. I'm making notes down here for my broadcast this morning. So, yeah, you can see that while I'm quite organized when it comes to executing and planning things, in the moment I'm a bit disorganized as I write things down. Anyway, write them down in space I can find. So, Val says, well, hello again. Funny. Well, fancy meeting you here again. Showing off a little too much chest there. Woo! A little too much chest there. Fancy meeting you all. By the way, folks, I've ordered steamed crabs, and that will be my treat for today. Also, hopefully tonight, ich drücke die Daumen, fingers crossed, the Vegas Gold Knights are Game 7 against the Dallas Stars, and my fingers are crossed. I'm hoping that Vegas can pull it out. The defending Stanley Cup champions had a 2-0 lead in the best of 7 series, lost 3 straight games, finally won at home on Friday night. I watched that game. They didn't score until the last 10 minutes of the third period, and then scored a goal when the defender was pulled late in the game, 1-2-0. So now they play the final in Dallas tonight. Yes, Shawnee, steamed crabs. Yum, yum. Unfortunately, they're the small and mediums, which none of those qualify as mediums to me. When I was a kid, what they call mediums would be the ones we threw back. They wouldn't even be mediums. The largest they have today, we would call smalls. It's really crazy. But they've got a surplus of them, so they had a special on, so I got the smalls. What I'll do this time is I think I'll eat my crabs, enjoy them, then afterwards pick apart the claws and everything else to dig out the meat and save it for later. No, I've been away for a while. Yeah, good to be back in the land. Okay, good. Good to see you there, Joe. Hope you're okay. I don't know why you're away, but I was also not doing my broadcast as regularly as I normally would because I was running for the legislature, and I always donate this amount beginning of the month. George just gave 350 Rand super chat. Thank you for that. Appreciate that very much. That is an awesome super chat, and really is something that helps out a little bit here. Helps pay the bill for the internet, and sometimes a little bit more than that. Jeffrey says, Neil's a bit of a blowhard, but he means well, and he will make a big noise. We need more like him. Well, that is a rather roundabout compliment. Yeah, Neil is a force of nature. He's a dynamic personality, to say the least. But yeah, I took a lot of flack from some of the site lenders in the Civil Defense Organization because they said they were angry with me because I covered Neil DeBeer. Well, I'm a journalist. I cover things. I don't cover everybody that's popular. I do have standards that I maintain. I won't talk to avowed racist or people who are blatant race hustlers. The exception I'm making for that, and that's been a rule I've had since I started this broadcasting and also my writings I do. But since I started this broadcasting, there is one exception I'm going to make. If I can get someone from the MK party to come on here, then I'll bring them on just because they're new kids on the block. And I don't think they really know what they stand for. So we'll see what happens. And there's the super chat. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. There we go. You rang? Am I the acceptation? What is the acceptation? I have no idea what that means. Seems like mainstream media are reporting adverse effects of the jabs almost on a weekly basis. Well, John, you know that this is a censorship platform. I cannot discuss that particular thing in any greater fashion than what I just did, because delving into the field of science and reporting scientific data, even when it's reported by the Centers for Disease Control or the National Institute for Health, when you report that information on this platform, the frauds that run it will censor you and give you a strike and take your channel away for medical misinformation. Therefore, we don't talk about it. I'm also very circumspect about talking about things I actually have expertise in, like epidemiology and my experience analyzing the infectious diseases of the world. But anyway, Remember back in the day when I started my channel, I sat on a laptop in my sitting room over here to my left. And I had this thing where I talked about infectious disease in the early days of the Rona pandemic. And I went through Lassa, Ebola, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Zika, and went through my collection of books I had about infectious disease. And I have quite a few. Smallpox, a whole bunch of Pox Americana is one of the books I have. A whole bunch of books from my research over the years on these things. That was a really enjoyable event. I remember that very fondly. So many books. Maybe I do it again, but I'm afraid I'll get censored. Rama's confident because he knows they intend to cheat, says Joking Atheist. Well, maybe you're correct about that. It's funny that you write that, Jeffrey. You didn't do @Chris. You wrote Chris Neal. My former first sergeant's name was Chris Neal. God rest his soul. He passed away a number of years ago. But Chris Neal was with me in Italy. He later, as a retiree, served in Australia as a U.S. Army civilian. Chris Neal is his name. So I saw Chris Neal. I'm like, whoa, that kind of takes me back a ways. Well, it's overcast and rainy, a crappy weather weekend here in central Pennsylvania. No solar production. After 3 consecutive days of over 40 kilowatt hours per day, yesterday it generated just 5.2 kilowatt hours. Today, not looking much better, currently at 3.29, and it's noon, so could do better than yesterday, but I shall see anyway. But for 4 consecutive months, I've hit progressively higher amounts of electricity generation. So approaching 6,000 pounds of carbon not produced, according to their app. Jeffrey says, I went through MK mandate. It seems quite racist and leaning. They also seem leaning towards change the Constitution. Jeffrey, I've done an analysis for that. So thank you for sharing. But you can actually go get my video. It's 12 minutes, 36 seconds, and just 1,261 people have viewed it. But this is my analysis of the MK manifesto, which is in fact quite racist. And I've pointed it out with graphics and with all of the information from it. So yeah, you can check that out. Feel free to watch that on your own volition at your own time. And yeah, third live stream on a Sunday already. Yes, and after this, it'll be off to collect those steamed crabs. It's about a 15, 20-minute drive there and back. So I'm gone for at least a half an hour. But I'm looking forward to my steamed crabs. I usually get crab cakes, but they've done something to their crab cakes, and they've not putting as much crab meat in it and much more filler. It doesn't taste good anymore. So I don't order their crab cakes. It's a shame because they got some good ones. Right. So what else have I missed here in the chat? And then we'll get to the news here in just a moment. So, all right. Now it's time for the news. So several of the unregistered parties in South Africa are taking their case to the Constitutional Court for review. They have an appeal out. The Maverick reports that unregistered parties lobby for South African poll postponement as the Concourt is hit with several urgent applications. So they're trying to stop the election on May 29th. Parties say they were left out of the registration process, argue the delay in election would be in the interest of justice. Well, not really. They had an opportunity to get into it. Constitutional Court has been hit with several urgent applications related to the 2024 elections less than a month before South Africans head to the polls. On May 8th, 3 political parties are seeking urgent intervention, claiming that technical faults and hanging in the online registration system of the Electoral Commission of South Africa barred them from registering on time. The Concord has ruled that the cases brought by the Labour Party, the African Alliance of Social Democrats, and the African Congress for Transformation will be heard in tandem. A fourth case was submitted by the Defenders of the People Party on the same issue, but the court is yet to provide directions on how that will be handled. The IEC, of course, opposes these applications. The newly formed Labour Party, African Alliance for Social Democrats, and the ACT have all raised a similar issue, saying that the IEC unfairly excluded them from participating in the election. Now, this could have an impact for the Cape Independence Party, which is also excluded should they be successful in overturning the judgment against them by the Electoral Court. We shall see. Cyril Ramaphosa insists the ANC is on a path of renewal. The ANC is renewing itself, and they're unconcerned about their under 50% in the polls. Well, we'll see if they're correct in their assertion. I don't think they will be. President Ramaphosa insists that his party is on a path of renewal, despite several members implicated in state capture being on the party's list for National Assembly. They're also unconcerned about the ANC's poor showing in polls ahead of the election. Ramaphosa himself still has many questions to answer about the Pala Pala affair, according to News 24. Finally, some good journalism here. ANC president was campaigning in Nomzamo Strand in Cape Town yesterday. Speaking to journalists, he was asked whether he was worried about the cloud of corruption following his party. He said, well, the ANC is in the process of renewal. And renewal, as I've often said, is a process. It's not a one-day event. And I know that the media people want it to happen in one day, but we're an organization, a living organization, that does things in accordance with the prescripts of our Constitution. Really? So the prescripts of your Constitution, you have a party policy that directs that those who are accused of corruption must step aside. It's called the step-aside rule. And you never use it. You never use it. Almost no ANC politicians have been forced to step aside as a consequence of being accused of corruption. By the way, you're in an evolution and renewal. How long does that take? How long does that take? ANC still includes Jacob Zuma as a member of its party, yet you've never taken disciplinary action against the man who is accused of multiple felony crimes. He's still embroiled in the arms scandal and is not a suspended member of the African National Congress. So how much renewal time do you need, Cyril? That has now been 2.5 decades of renewal time to suspend him. Not only did you never suspend him, but you picked him to be president. Your corrupt members of parliament selected Jacob Zuma to be president. And this, of course, facilitated the state capture of South Africa. What about Dr. Zweli Mkhize and the Digital Vibe scandal? He has not stepped aside. He is not part of your renewal process. He is an accused criminal, according to the Special Investigating Unit from 2 years ago. Zandile Gumeda, the disgraced former mayor of eThekwini, or Dirtbin, as we know it affectionately in KZN, she is accused of 168 counts of corruption that dates back several years. She was fraudulently placed on the provincial legislature by an ANC, hoping none of us would notice. But I and a handful of other independent journalists exposed this over and over again until the mainstream media finally picked up on the story, and she was suspended from the bear, but with pay. So Zandile Gumeda, who's been accused of massive corruption for years and yet to be prosecuted fully for it, she's finally in court now, still sits in the ANC. Ace Magashule, the Vreda dairy farm scandal, the 254 million rand asbestos tender corruption that goes on for years and years and years. Cyril Ramaphosa himself, a Pala Pala scandal, the importation of $560,000 in U.S. cash without declaring it to customs or immigration, the movement of it to a game ranch, the purported purchase of prize Cape Buffalo, or not Cape Buffalo, but his other buffalo, those, what the heck are they called, his prized cattle, by a Sudanese businessman who owns no land and has no ranches, and then the claim after the fact that the cattle were the Nguni cattle, kept at the ranch, but no payment for vet bills, feed, for lodging for these cattle. No cattle that have been branded with the Sudanese businessman's mark. Yeah, the ANC is full of corrupt individuals, and he is full of it. The ANC is not full of renewal. The only thing they're seeking renew is their sitting in parliament so they can continue to fleece and mislead and cause the harm and mayhem to thousands of South Africans. Well, Jacob Zuma is cheeky as always. He seeks the recusal of 6 members, 6 members of the Constitutional Court because they voted to punish him for his arrogance a few years ago. The manufactured crisis, emergency, general panic, and pandemonium caused by the candidature of Mr. Zuma for parliament is mainly a political rather than a legal nature, says his attorney. And of course, you're wrong. It is a criminal matter. The justices his legal team wants recused are Mbuyiseli Maglanga, Stephen Majet, Nonkosi Matlata, Leona Thron, and Zukisa Chiki. Yeah, that would mean the court could not operate because it does not have a quorum. The Electoral Court cleared the way for Zuma to stand for parliament illegitimately, despite the fact that he has violated the Constitution and is ineligible for office. The captured Electoral Court simply said he could run for office because his sentence was a remission. So all those convicted rapists and murderers, the 10,000, 15,000 that the ANC let out of jail to cover up the Jacob Zuma remission, does that mean they don't have criminal convictions? You can scrub all that? What a bunch of nonsense. Yep, what a bunch of nonsense. Well, now this story is bizarre. I'm going to tell you 3 different versions of this story. All of them have come out in the past several hours. So I don't know what's going on. First, the ANC's disciplinary hearing against Jacob Zuma postponed. Independent Online earlier today. Decision by the ruling African National Congress to defer disciplinary hearings of its former president has added impetus to the criticism the party is indecisive and inconsistent. The Independent Online reported yesterday that Zuma's disciplinary hearings in the ANC have been postponed until after the elections. After the elections. Wow. A letter which was seen by the Independent Online was issued by the ANC National Disciplinary Committee Chairperson Ralph Mjima and by the Office of the Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. Yeah. So anyway, that's just crazy. And then we find that despite the fact that IOL reported Saturday that it had been postponed till after the election, hey, News 24 reports that the ANC will go ahead with Zuma's disciplinary hearing on Tuesday. But instead of holding it in person, concerned about violence, they will hold it virtually. They intend to have a virtual disciplinary hearing for its former president. And that's because it feared violence would erupt at Latuli House, where Zuma was set to appear in person. Wow. So according to ANC, national officials have decided such activity should be held in abeyance until after the national provincial elections, includes the hearing of JG Zuma. But then they said they will have a virtual hearing, only to find News 24 reversing that moments before I came on air. On again, off again. Now they're saying that it's postponed again. ANC stops the disciplinary hearings virtual hearing of Zuma. Wow. This is crazy. ANC leadership instructed its National Disciplinary Committee not to forge ahead with a virtual disciplinary hearing of former President Jacob Zuma. On Friday, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula wrote to the chair asking that the hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, be held later. Wow, this is crazy. So they are cowards. They are afraid to have a disciplinary hearing for someone they should have a disciplinary hearing for 25 years ago. Well, the ANC is banking on and counting on, according to the Times Live, its support for the terrorist group Hamas in order to win votes by colored Muslims in the Western Cape. Thabo Mokone in the Sunday Times reports exactly that. Anti-DA sentiment was palpable during an ANC election campaign meeting with residents from Athlone and surrounding areas Friday evening. During the public hearing with President Ramaphosa, speaker after speaker slammed the DA as Zionist and racist and discriminatory against Muslims and coloreds whose support has helped keep the DA in power for the past 15 years. How is the DA racist against Muslims? You can't be racist. Oh, discriminatory. How is it racist against coloreds and how is it discriminatory against Muslims? What has the Democratic Alliance done to earn that label? Of course, they offer no evidence of it, no specific cases to enumerate how that is actually a true statement because it's simply slander and a lie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Shell, which has been resident in South Africa for well over a century, is preparing to leave the South African market. Yet another developed country's major corporation leaving South Africa's shores. International oil giant Shell is preparing to pull out of South Africa after operating here for over 120 years. This all started back in 2022 when the Tebe Investment Corporation wrote to Shell saying they wanted to opt out and cash out their funds that are part of the scam racist BEE swindle. Black Economic Empowerment. Shell forced to give equity to this group, and they wanted to cash out. Shell, based on the poor production and the bad situation in South Africa, valued their shares at virtually nothing after ignoring their request for several months. And now they call that the Great Dutch Heist. Yeah, well, you didn't pay for those shares, did you? You were handed those shares. So, yep. The International Oil Company has a large footprint in South Africa with more than 600 different locations nationwide. Yep. Now, they also came under fire recently for their seismic exploration off the coast, the southern coast of South Africa, when privileged, white, and colored, whiny, brat leftist crybabies went out and made fraudulent claims that the seismic activity was harming wildlife, with no evidence to support this whatsoever. Never mind the fact that this was taking place approximately 60 miles, 100 kilometers offshore. Yet they're sitting on shore complaining about the effects on shore without any scientific evidence to back it up. But they won, and the courts sided with them. In 2021, the High Court temporarily blocked seismic survey over concerns that communities haven't been properly consulted. What community? Who lives 100 miles offshore? 60 miles, 100 kilometers. No one lives there. So Shell and their BEE partnership relationship hits rock bottom. BEE shareholders, Tebe, seek billions for their stake in one of South Africa's biggest empowerment deals. In other words, one of its most serious racist failings. Shell has been a household name in South Africa since 1902 and nearly 600 branded outlets around the country. The London headquartered oil giant is now locked in a battle with its BEE partner, Tebe Investment, over what Tebe says is the 3.7 billion rand share of the multinational South African interest. The 22-year relationship between the two was regarded as one of the most successful fleecings of a foreign corporation and the so-called transformation or shifting of wealth to unqualified, undeserving, black, rich, coterie friends of the ANC, while leaving the rest of South Africa in abject poverty. Yes. Families were destroyed. Yes. Victims conned out of 18 million rand by Miss Govander. Whoa. Convicted fraudster, and they want their money back. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, when criminals are minority in South Africa, the South African criminal justice system moves with quite an amazing alacrity. The speed, it's almost like the speed of light. But God forbid someone murder a black child and her brother in the streets of the Cape Flats. We'll never know who those murderers are because we just don't know. But when the minority is involved, boy, they move quickly to prosecute. Victims were scammed out of more than 18 million rand by Swarine Govander. They want their money back. She used the credentials of a company owned by her friend Shanusha Reedy to con people. Her sentence, an effective 15 years in jail after pleading guilty to 15 counts of fraud. Wow. So she started this crap back in 2017. The cops started looking for her in 2021, and now they found her. And just a short while after finding her, she's been convicted. Hopefully this will be a lesson to others and a deterrent for those thinking about stealing other people's hard-earned money. Well, I agree with that. The Palm Ridge Court said that, specialized crimes. I agree. It should be a lesson. But the real lesson here isn't that if you commit crime, you'll be prosecuted. The real lesson here is if you commit crime in South Africa and you're a minority, they will actually get the justice system to work to prosecute you, but not the other criminals. That's the important lesson here. Really sad. Well, despite the rising cost, or in spite of rising costs, or maybe because of rising costs, Mafeking is not getting its major thoroughfare finished. And they've dropped work. Workers down their tools, and there's been no work done for a week as the contractor struggles to complete work on a 4-kilometer stretch in the heart of Mafeking. 80 million rand Northwest Road upgrade project. And yeah, you can see the state of it. They just ripped it up and left it like that. This is in Mafeking. Nelson Mandela Drive, partially dug up. 2 weeks ago, they stopped working on it. Didn't even make the news until today. Well, case of mistaken identity, which I alluded to earlier, talking to Neil de Beer about the horrific things that happened in South Africa. This young man's life was snuffed out because morons, assassins, murdered the wrong person. How an alleged hit squad killed the wrong man. Armand Swat, who was 30, was killed in a hit-style shooting in Vereniging on the 17th of April. He was killed. I've been to Vereniging. That's where I picked up some pharmaceuticals last time I was there. 3 men, including a long-serving detective, are charged with murder and other crimes after a volley of bullets were pumped into his bucky. They were meant for a colleague, not for him. In a deadly case of mistaken identity, bullets which killed Armand Swart, a Vereniging man, gunned down in a hit outside his workplace 2 weeks ago, were meant for a colleague. The father of two was behind the wheel of a bakkie waiting for the gate to open when a car pulled up alongside his and gunmen pumped 23 bullets into the cab. He died in his seat. Johannesburg detective Michael Pule-Tau was arrested hours later alongside Musu Kakena and Telogo Floyd Masulisela, who were found with guns and stolen cars. Wow. Sources of knowledge investigations to the target of the hit was, in fact, another employee from the firm where Swart worked. Wow. When the men were arrested, police found several guns, including AK-47 and stolen cars. Wow. Here's an op-ed piece in the City Press which disparages Mangosuthu Buthelezi by distorting history. Action SA's efforts to rename eThekwini in honor of warmonger Buthelezi is foolish. Wow. We simply stand by and laugh when we see Gate McKenzie screaming his throat hoarse as he bellows, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, sometimes the folly is serious and offensive. Take Action SA, the party that arrived with a bang in 2021 is now considered one of the established ones in our political scene. Take late last year, it began floating the idea of renaming eThekwini after Mangosuthu Buthelezi because of all the wonderful things the warmonger supposedly did while he was at the helm of KwaZulu Bantustan. Initially raised by KwaZulu-Natal action leader Zwakwela Makwano, the sign of Buthelezi acolyte, the suggestion received the blessings of the party's leader Herman Mashaba. Fred Kamalo decried the renaming in honor of this dastardly killer of his own people. Kamalo wrote, imagine someone who's lost an entire family to Inkatha violence having to fill in some official documents with a name that evokes anger and regret in him. Really? But you scumbags vote for the African National Congress every election. They, of course, murdered 20,000 Inkatha members during the 1980s and 1990s, touching off a civil war between the ANC and Inkatha in KZN. These disparaging and shameful remarks about Mangosuthu Buthelezi are disgraceful. They think he's a warmonger scientist because they believe the propaganda that they've been fed. Of course, the person writing this garbage wasn't even alive probably during this time period. What's the name? Mondli Makiana. Don't know who that is. Doesn't say. Anyway, they're just attacking Mangosuthu Buthelezi because they're ignorant asses. And this is a disgrace. This is the sort of thing we see happening all over the world. Buthelezi is no longer alive, so the cowards can make their false claims against him. Well, the Sharks have come back from the dead. The Pilchards, as they appeared for 65 minutes in their contest against ASM Clermont at Twickenham Stoop yesterday. I covered that game on Rugby Ascendant. The Sharks miraculously come back off the boot of Sia Masuku, who was absolutely brilliant with 22 points off the boot and kicking every conversion, 8 of 8 kicks. Amazing work by Masuku. And in addition to that, late in the game, the incredible effort by Eben Etzebeth charging up the field, catching the kick that was meant for the other team and driving forward. That opened up the field of space, and the Sharks scored a try late to secure a victory. Masuku with an incredible kick through the uprights from a tough angle. Absolutely brilliant. Makazole Mapimpi with a late try. Wow, this was an incredible game, and the Sharks stave off elimination in the Challenge Cup. They move on from the semifinal to the final, where they'll play Gloucester, who beat a Benetton side that made too many mistakes but could have won the game. The Sharks do a Bach-esque one-pointer in Bonkers Challenge Cup semi and keep the Euro top table dream alive. The Sharks took backdoor route to the Challenge Cup final when they dealt the Bach-esque one-point blow to an all-too-familiar feeling to French side Clermont. This means the team from Durban can still hope for a top-table European rugby in the Champions Cup next season. The Bach engines in the Sharks' ranks were slow to start, but when they finally did fire, it was where the Clermont side would ultimately fall short. The game, which took off at a breakneck pace and never let up, with collisions massive and the attitude of both sides daring to the point of reckless, it took an indomitable comeback by a team which has shown a little soft underbelly in recent months, the reward being the only kind of winning feeling South African fans understand, a one-point victory. Yeah, a one-point victory. Again, wow, there you go, folks. That was incredible. Sharks are now in the final, which will be 3 weeks down the road. Zimbabwe's currency just isn't out there, and they're screwing Zimbabweans. Sylvia Dilawalo, an expert at scaling the hurdles of Zimbabwe's crisis-ridden economy and negotiating the many currencies in play, is upset. She works hard every day to send her 4 children to school, waking up at 4 o'clock most mornings, heads to the main market in Harare, the capital, Harare to buy maize, peanuts, donuts, eggs, and buns to sell at her neighborhood street stall. From tomatoes to avocados, pots to second-hand clothes, Mbare is a hub of commerce, and the traders there set prices, which change daily in the fluctuating economy. But she's angry because the new currency has been introduced. Just before the ZIG was introduced, I could buy a packet of peanuts for 50 cents US or 2,500 bond notes. But when the Reserve Bank governor gave Zimbabweans 3 weeks to exchange their bond notes, they lost what little value they had, and a bag of peanuts shot from 2,500 Zim to 40,000 Zim. Fortunately, she only took payments in dollars, so she didn't lose out there. Togo's ruling party under Nasnabe is in like Flynn once again in what's probably a cooked and corrupt election, I would imagine. Togo's ruling party won 108 of 113 seats in parliament, according to the final provisional results of last month's election. This was announced on Friday. The sweeping majority secured by President Faure and Nasanabe's UNIR party follows the approval of controversial constitutional reforms by the outgoing parliament that could extend his 19-year rule. In other words, he's going to rule into perpetuity, kind of like the Chinese dictator for life. People are eating grass and peanut shells. Things are so desperate in Darfur. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you this report live from the Thule House, where the concerned African National Congress is up in arms about conflict in Darfur and starvation in Darfur. Wait a second. That's not true. I come to you now live from the Thule House, where the ANC is sticking its nose with a fraudulent allegation of genocide, which does not meet the international definition of genocide, against the state of Israel, and complaining ferociously about people in Gaza being hungry. Yet that's what they care about, Palestinians and Hamas terrorists. That's who the ANC cares about, not black Africans. That's for damn sure. Time is running out to prevent starvation in Darfur, according to the United Nations. People have been forced to consume grass and peanut shells. If assistance doesn't reach them soon, we risk witnessing widespread starvation and death in Darfur and across other conflict-affected areas in Sudan. And where is the African National Congress, the so-called paragon of virtue, the so-called defender of human rights, the one party who cares about the world? Well, none of that's true. They're not a paragon of human rights. They're human rights abusers. They are a criminal cabal. Benjamin Netanyahu's government strikes a blow against freedom of speech by banning Al Jazeera broadcast. The Israeli cabinet decides unanimously to close the network's operations in Israel, but no clarity is given on when the decision might take effect. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet voted unanimously to close Al Jazeera's operations in Israel. The cabinet vote came today after Israel's parliament passed a law allowing a temporary closure in Israel of foreign broadcasters considered to be a threat to national security during the conflict in Gaza, the Hamas war. Netanyahu announced the decision on Twitter. The government headed by me unanimously decided the incitement channel Al Jazeera will be closed in Israel. Posted in Hebrew. Wow. Wow. There's a long-running feud between Al Jazeera and Israel, so not a surprise. An Iranian rapper has been sentenced to death for the uprising against the theocrats in that evil country. Iranian rapper Tumaj Salehi sentenced to death for protesting. Dissident rapper Tumaj Salehi has been given a death sentence for his involvement in a widespread protest that swept around in 2022. An order for the execution of Tumaj Salehi has been issued, his lawyer tweeted Wednesday. The rapper has been detained, held in solitary confinement, was allegedly tortured following his arrest. In an unprecedented move, the court in Isfahan reversed the higher Supreme Court's decision on the case on Tuesday, upholding the original verdict of corruption on earth and issued a maximum punishment of death. State media said his sentence is subject to reduction by a pardoning committee if he appeals again. The 32-year-old has been critical of the Iranian regime and outspoken against government in rap lyrics and on social media, was briefly released from prison last year before police violently rearrested him and sent him to prison in Isfahan. He was rearrested after appearing in a video where he revealed that he was tortured and placed in solitary confinement for 252 days following his arrest in October 2022. Another artist, Kurdish-Iranian rapper Saman Yassin, was also arrested at the height of 2022 protests, was transferred to a psychiatric hospital 2 times, according to pro-reform news outlet Iran Wire. Court sentenced Yassin to 5 years in prison. Wow. Now, these demonstrations swept the country after the death of 22-year-old Masha Amini, which occurred under suspicious circumstances, while in police custody. This is the government that Barack Obama and Joe Biden like to do business with. And they've empowered them with billions and billions and billions of US dollars to suppress human rights. A Saudi woman has been sentenced to 11 years in jail. There she is. Manahel al-Otabi, a 25-year-old activist, a lot older than 25. Human rights groups are calling for the release of a Saudi woman who they say has been sentenced to 11 years in prison for supporting women's rights and for the way she dressed. Manahel al-Otabi, a 29-year-old fitness instructor and women's rights activist, was sentenced during a secret hearing before the Kingdom's Specialized Criminal Court on January 9th of this year. Amnesty International, London-based Saudi rights organization ALQST, said in a joint statement on Tuesday. The decision to imprison her only surfaced weeks later after the Saudi government replied to a request by United Nations special rapporteurs for information about the case. Al-Otabi stands accused of terrorist offenses and was arrested in accordance with the law under a legally valid warrant, said Saudi Arabia's mission to Geneva. Wow. Her sister, Fazwiya Al-Otabi, also faces similar charges but was able to flee Saudi Arabia before she was summoned for questioning back in 2022. Manahel's conviction and 11-year sentence is an appalling and cruel injustice. With this sentence, the Saudi authorities have exposed the hollowness of their much-touted women's rights reforms in recent years and demonstrated their chilling commitment to silencing peaceful dissent. Another theocracy, essentially. That's not the government, but it's influenced heavily by theocrats. Well, China and the Chinese are buying gold in record amounts, driving up the price of the precious metal to unprecedented levels and unsustainable levels. The global price of gold has reached its highest levels as Chinese investors and consumers, weary of real estate and stocks, buy the metal at a record pace. Indians were doing this 15 years ago, driving up the price of gold. Now it's the Chinese. As gold surged this year to its highest price ever, Nicklin joined the frenzy by making monthly purchases of gold beans, pebble-like morsels of the precious metal. The 25-year-old administrative worker in southern China, the $80 beans are small enough to rest on the fingertip and weighing about 1/30th of an ounce, were an affordable way to buy into gold. She says, I'm working hard to save more. And here is a look at the chart on the price of gold historically. It was a poor investment, as I told people for years, from 1984 all the way up until 2007. It was a very poor investment, never really increasing in value. Unfortunately for South Africa, when it was the world's largest gold producer, 1970 to about 2000, gold was below $500 an ounce. But now that South Africa is a minor gold producer, gold is reaching record levels. It went up to over about $1,800 an ounce around 2013, 2014, then dropped back to 1,000 roughly. And now it's been on a surge since the COVID scam. And today it's north of $2,000, approaching $2,500 an ounce. Yes, that's what's going on. The Chinese are buying it up left and right. It's not worth that. It's like crypto. People are just speculating. Yep. 50% increase in prices since late 2022 alone. And here's what the beans look like if you want to see what these gold beans look like. See the little glass jars? Those are gold beans. China is unquestionably driving the price of gold. Gold consumption in the country rose 6% in the first quarter from a year earlier. It came on the heels of a 9% increase last year. Wow, that's just crazy. That's a lot of increase in the price of gold. Well, Japan's lander is surprising everybody, folks. Sharing image of his latest lunar day. You can see the image there. Some of the data is missing in the middle of it there. That's not an error here. That's the actual image. An image taken by the Lunar Excursion Vehicle 2, a miniature rover that accompanied Moon Sniper on its journey. Moon Sniper, as you can see, is landed on its nose, not where it was supposed to have landed. Japan's Moon Sniper lander has defied the odds for a third time, surviving yet another long, frigid lunar night, despite not being designed to endure such harsh conditions, according to the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency. Temperatures during the lunar night can plunge to minus 208 degrees Fahrenheit, 133 minus Celsius. And during the day, they get quite hot. So, they're sending pictures back. There's another picture sent by the lander. And another. That one's not so good. Oh, Japanese, surprising folks. Bondholders are looking to get their money from the corrupt Ukraine government, which has been given a free pass for 2 years since the Russian invasion. The debt owed to creditors is something they want, but Ukraine has not been paying the debt. Firms including BlackRock, PIMCO form a committee and hire advisors to negotiate a deal. Ukraine's lenders said Kiev could wait to pay them back after Russian troops stormed into the country 2 years ago, but now their patience is wearing out. A group of foreign bondholders plans to press Ukraine to start paying interest on its debt again as soon as next year. The group, which holds around a fifth of Ukraine's $20 billion of outstanding Eurobonds, recently formed a committee and hired lawyers at Weil, Gottschall, and Manges and bankers from PJT Partners to negotiate on its behalf. They want Kiev, fresh off of clinching roughly $60 billion in U.S. aid, to strike a deal in which it would resume payments in exchange for forgiveness of a big chunk of the country's outstanding debt. Another deadbeat borrower, Ukraine. Well, the UK Conservatives are taking a bath, ladies and gentlemen. The United Kingdom Conservatives absolutely slammed as a consequence of their failed local elections. UK Conservatives suffer historic losses in local elections as Labour edges closer to power. Britain's Labour Party leader, and it's not Jeremy Corbyn, thank goodness, Sir Keir Starmer, and Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves celebrate with David Scaife at North Hallerton Hall, North Yorkshire. Britain's governing Conservative Party suffered heavy losses in local elections on Friday, further cementing expectations the Labour Party will return to power after 14 years in a UK general election that will take place in the coming months. The results overall were bad, very low turnout, making for a grim outcome for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. But he did breathe a sigh of relief as the Conservative mayor of Tees Valley was successful in getting reelected. So here are the local election results, an update for what we had yesterday, and it's been even worse for the Tories, the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party lost 397 seats. This is after 107 of 107 councils have declared the results. 397 seats are now no longer one of the top parties. They're now third. The Liberal Democrats gained 98 seats and now have 522 councillors, while the Conservatives have just 515 councillors in these cities nationwide. Labour gained 232 to move up to 1158. Wow. And the Greens gained 64. Now they have 181. That's a huge gain for them. Conservatives lost control of 10 councils. Labour gained 8. The Liberal Democrats have gained 2. Wow. So the Conservatives lost 10 and held on to 6 in this election. English councils were held, 107 English councils elections were held with more than 2,000 seats being contested. That's crazy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can confirm that, in fact, voter ID is a racist concept. That's right. You heard it right here. Racist concept. We have the proof now, as a poor minority voter was unable to go vote in the United Kingdom because this poor minority didn't have the wherewithal to carry voter ID to the polling stations. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been widely reported that former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, a minority, in other words, a white person in London, could not vote. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson turned away from polling station after forgetting his photo ID. Boris, with the incredibly impeccable, well-manicured coif of hair, yes, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson was turned away from polling station after bring his ID. Wow. Now, he's the one who introduced the requirement to have a photo ID at the polling station. Apparently he voted in South Oxfordshire on Thursday. But the vote was on Friday. Johnson introduced the Elections Act requiring photo ID in 2022, and the new law was first implemented last year in local elections. But Thursday was the first time large numbers of voters across England and Wales had to present ID, such as passport or driver license, to vote. So there we have proof positive that photo ID is racist, as the minority voter, Boris Johnson, could not vote. Why should the UK Prime Minister resign, scientists? Because his party candidates didn't get the job done? No. I think Rishi Sunak should resign, but not for that reason. Well, a NATO country says it could join Ukraine's war if 2 conditions are met. And of course, this is Emmanuel Macron, the child who married his former teacher. French President Emmanuel Macron discussed the Ukraine war with The Economist. And he said France could send troops if Ukraine requested them in response to a Russian breakthrough. Yeah, so once again, an idiot leader of a foreign country, in this case France, which usually screws up the world. Of course, French's colonial empire screwed up the world and created a post-Second World War, Cold War problem, including drawing us into the Vietnam conflict. which was, of course, a French colony. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you looking for a new place to live? Well, I am. Are you looking for a new place? Miami. Mi loco Miami. Miami, folks. That's the place to go. Would you like to go down to the sailboat-shaped, beautiful apartment building built right on the river in Miami? Aston Martin, the car manufacturer of luxury cars, has built a 66-story residential tower in Miami, and there it is. The sail-shaped Aston Martin Residences Miami building. Miami has a new addition to Skyline, a 66-story residential tower built by Aston Martin, making the British luxury sports car maker's first foray into residential real estate. Comprising 391 units, Aston Martin Residence Miami sits at the mouth of the Miami River on the Biscayne Bay. Designed in partnership with architect Rodolfo Miani of Bodas Mian Unger and built by GG Business Developments, the 249-meter, 818-foot tall building houses 7 penthouses, each with private pools and terraces, as well as apartments ranging in size from 1 to 5 bedrooms. The largest unit is a unique tripleplex penthouse arranged over 3 floors at the top of the building, which remains on the market for $59 million. The property is officially open on Tuesday, timed to coincide with the Formula One Miami Grand Prix. It's the latest distinction expression of Aston Martin's ultra-luxury high-performance brand. Featuring an infinity pool with a pool deck, jacuzzis, and cabanas on the 55th floor, the sail-shaped complex has a 2-floor fitness center, 2 movie theaters, and a virtual golf simulator. The building has a sky bar and lounge, a chef's kitchen, ballroom, and private dining areas, as well as a spa, beauty salon, and barber shop. Wow, where's the porn theater? Good Lord, we might as well get that. Direct access to the sea via a super yacht marina is also available, plus a private butler service. Wow. It's an amazing plot with an excellent view of the river. And here's a view from the interior of the building, looking out over the Bay of Biscayne. The structure's aerodynamic shape helps the building deal with the technical challenge presented by high winds, as well as evoking the sleek shape of an Aston Martin. Wow, it becomes wider from the base to the midsection before tightening once more near the top. And here in this photograph, you can see it at the bottom of the river there. Wow. It has Aston Martin touches. Homeowners are able to customize their interior space with the help of Aston Martin design team with 3 style packages: timeless, covert, and indulgent. It needs to have part of the DNA of an Aston Martin, but we are in Miami, so we don't have a cold November evening where you need to put the log on the fire, so you've got to be considerate of the environment that you're in. Design elements running through the building include doors with bespoke Aston Martin handles, number plinths, and kestrel tan leather doorknobs. Aston Martin said that 99% of the properties sold before the building was even completed. Residences were sold for $1.5 million to $8.5 million, while the penthouses ranged from $16 million to $59 million. The unique triplex penthouse on the market for $59 million comes with the last remaining Aston Martin Vulcan, an 820 brake horsepower all-carbon fiber supercar, of which only 24 exist, and the last one comes with that apartment. Spokesman for the company said buyers of the 47 signature penthouse units were also able to choose between an Aston Martin DBX Sports SUV and the company's DB11 sports car. Aston Martin isn't the first luxury car maker to enter the residential property market. A 63-story building from Bentley will open in 2026 along the coastline of the sunny Isles Beach, Florida. Who's lining up, man? Who's lining up for that? Caitlin Clark makes her debut in preseason WNBA. That's right, Women's National Basketball Association, with her undersized, tiny balls to go through the same size hoop. Caitlin Clark makes an impression on her first appearance. Off to a good start is the young guard. In front of a sold-out crowd in Dallas for her first WNBA game preseason, Clark was just as impactful as she was the past 4 years in Iowa. Although the Indiana Fever lost to the Dallas Wings 79-76, Clark finished with a team-high 21 points and made 5 3-point shots. I thought we really played hard, just a great atmosphere for women's basketball. I think it's a good kickoff to the WNBA season. 21 points, 3 rebounds, 5 3-point tries. And not just her, but also Angel Reese also got her start in the WNBA. Former Louisiana State University star and champion from the previous season, Angel Reese made her debut, and she wound up with 9 rebounds in that contest. Women's WNBA action underway. Minority Rule. This is a disgraceful, shameful publication, and this is written by The Guardian talking about a book that's coming out full of lies. Ari Berman's new book is a rich history of America's ambivalent attitude towards majority rule. The founding document declared all men are created equal, but by the time the Constitution was drafted 11 years later, there was already a severe backlash to that revolutionary assertion. To prevent the Union from disintegrating, and it goes on and on and on, and it talks about all the things, blaming everything, including gerrymandering on Republicans, when in fact Democrats are the ones who perfected all these evil things. Well, shifting bear population is causing big problems for people who've encroached on Mother Nature, gobbling up farmland and forest for their own use. Well, black bears are coming back. The once common in western Michigan are slowly returning, posing a threat not just to residents and pets, but to local farmers and their bottom lines. Latest data from Michigan Department of Natural Resources says the black bear population in the lower peninsula has risen by 55% since 2012, with 2,000 bears roaming the northern part of the peninsula. Wow. So there's a couple black bears walking across a field in the distance. Maybe humans should stop encroaching on their land just like we do to mountain lions or catamounts out in California. Mystic Dan has won a photo finish in the Kentucky Derby, the land of mint juleps. The Kentucky Derby conducted yesterday, and it is truly a photo finish, folks. Who knew who won? Well, Mystic Dan won. Look at this photo finish. Look at that. 3 horses. Sierra Leone with jockey Tyler Gaffalone, Forever Young with jockey Rushi Sakai, and Mystic Dan with jockey Brian Hernandez cross the finish line at Churchill Downs in the Kentucky Derby. Let me zoom that in. You can see just how it was a photo finish. There we go. Look at that, folks. 3 horses, and you can't even see the second horses. There's all 3 of them right there. There you go. 3 heads. A photo finish by a nose. Mystic Dan wins by a nose. That is absolutely incredible. Look at that. That's an epic finish. That's a race. That's so cool. Mystic Dan wins by a nose. That's pretty incredible. I don't really give a flying flip about the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness or the Belmont Stakes. But those are the 3 races that are part of the Triple Crown, which is rarely won by a horse in the United States. Thank you to the 66 people currently. White Horse does not run on grass. They do run on grass in some places, the scientists. It just depends on the type of track. Only bird that brings crowds for women's basketball. Who, Larry Bird? Or are you talking about Caitlin Clark? Yep. Next setting for Bond movie. No doubt, Garrett. Next setting for Bond movie will be that building in Miami. Hurricane's Delight. Yeah, that building will be tested in a hurricane. The Guardian toilet paper. That's correct. French still have an empire that nobody mentions. Which one is that? He went home, picked up his ID, then voted. Yes, John, he did. But it's a racist law. It prevented a minority from voting. In London, white folks are a minority. Not just in the East End, but even in the posh neighborhoods of the West End of London now that's happening. Yes, that's right. Liberal Democrats, despite having a dodgy leader, could make a dent in the general election. You are correct, Fleshen. You are correct. And the Tories have no one to blame but themselves and their actions. Remember the mask I was wearing at the beginning of this broadcast? They were among the most vocal anti-science losers who impinged upon liberty with their nonsense wearing facial coverings. Yep. Nipple height. Who's at nipple height? Oh, Fishy Rishi. Okay. Was never elected. Yep. Michael Holmes says, I think the DA might get 30%. Wow. That's a bold prediction. I don't know if that's even remotely true, Michael, but that would be impressive. If the DA could get 30%, then an alternative coalition could likely be formed. Let's just go out on a limb, say 30% for the DA. Then we've also got in that coalition the IFP, maybe 5%. That's 35% between the two of them. Freedom Front Plus, 2.5%. That's 37.5%. Then Action SA with 4%. That's 42%. Then they can start going somewhere. That would be something. Gold top 2,400 an ounce recently. Yep. Indian tribe North America, the Cheyenne, sees to it that they have just one child once every. I've never heard such a story. Good bar, Benny. I'm not familiar with the Cheyenne doing that. I'd be surprised how they implement that. What Israel is doing, some of the USA trying to ban TikTok. Yes, scientists, except the problem here is that U.S. isn't banning TikTok. That's a misnomer. It's fake news. The U.S. Congress is trying to ban foreign ownership of TikTok. TikTok can exist, but not under the auspices of the Chinese Communist Party, which is what the Congress is upset about. So it's not quite the same, but it does have a chilling effect on the application and on free speech. Iran is a bigger danger to the West than China, maybe. Love the interviews, and now, of course, the news. Well, thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. Be sure to hit the like button. All right, what else we got here? Great hat. Oh, Layla liked my hat. Okay, I will go check your email right now. James Bowie. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, that's my B site. Okay, Gmail. Let me go to that account. I got it. James, I got it. It's here. You sent it 29 minutes ago. Here is Dr. Schwame's contact. Okay. Dr. Stewart, excuse me. Why am I reading Schwame? Where did I get that from? All right. Got it. Got it. Got it. Thank you, James. I don't know why it didn't go through before, but it's there. I got it. I'll reach out to him. Try to get the interview. All right. Cool beans. All right. Okay. Honest question. Has anything you have heard or read in the last 6 months changed who you're voting for? No. I voted for myself and lost in April 23rd, and I will vote in the fall, and my vote has not changed. Yep. Actually, in the last 6 months, yes. I wasn't running 6 months ago, so I did change my vote in the April primary to vote for myself. Yep, email got through, James. Okay. Yep, finally made contact. Yep, I don't know why it was so hard. ANC needs MK to boost their strength. Undoubtedly, MK will join. Yes, they will. Well, will the ANC give up power? That's a real question. Hey, Paul Dufton's here. Lee Roberts says back. Hey, Lee, I have been informed by 2 viewers that Duprier van Heerden, the South African performer who sang that song Tresemme, which you love so much, has passed away. Apparently he was involved in a campfire accident weeks ago and has passed away this weekend. Duprier van Heerden. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, you did. Okay, there it is. You heard he passed away on Friday. Yeah, I don't know where that information is coming from, but 2 of my viewers, and now you're the third one to mention it. Pierre Orban is here. Laudine Monday. Yeah, Jeff Thomas. Yeah, there's my video. So that's back at the beginning. I sent you the link so you guys check out. Thanks. Update on my team, the Sharks. Sounds like a typical South African World Cup. 1 point. Yeah, it was ugly though. It was ugly, Debbie. Ugly. Yep. The Great Reset. Okay, how many people must look back at their photos and think we were in Twilight? Yeah. Reported on my broadband. Thank you, Leon. Well, I have my broadband, but I didn't see that. Google doesn't search my broadband, so I have to go to my broadband itself. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe I didn't check it. No, it's there. Joburg Power Utility calls the Army for intervention to fight cable theft. Good Lord. Well, let me see. Ooh, Fly Safair is considering having Starlink on its planes. Now, how can you do that? So, where's the search button here? Prayer. Come on. I can't search. It won't let me search. Come on. Is it searching? Yeah, it searched, but it didn't give me that. That's weird. Big South African airline considering new in-flight Wi-Fi service, including Starlink. Fly Safair is reviewing newer internet technologies for airplanes, including Starlink. Local flights in South Africa generally don't offer in-flight Wi-Fi. No, they don't. Told my broadband this because conventional connectivity technology is not attractive to implement. Yep. For a long time, the only satellites available for service were in geosynchronous orbit, 35,000 kilometers above the Earth. They offer low bandwidth and high latency. Yep. So Starlink. Starlink charges $2,000 a month for a package with 20 gigabyte cap. That's a lot. 20 gigabyte. I have no such limit. Great interview with Neil. Enjoyed that, says Helen. You're welcome. Oh, Marola Media. I was going to say My Broadband. It makes more sense if it's Marola Media. Okay. Yeah, Marola Media makes more sense. They actually cover. Yeah, there you go. Let me see. Let's see if I can search that. Dupree. Oops, need another E in there. No, I've searched Dupree in here before. Taking a long time. There it is. Pretoria singer dies. Wow. Dupree van Heerden. Wow. So, yeah, here it is. Only place reporting on it. There you go. Dupree van Heerden, een plaatselijke zanger van Pretoria, is vrijdag in de hospitaal overleden nadat hij een maat van ernstige brandwonden opgedaan toen hij een kampvuur had. Wow, he fell into a campfire in March. Wow. Wow. So sad. There he is. He was a guest on this program, and we used to play his song Tresemme all the time. So Neil speaks of Colombia violence. We saw that happen 30 years ago. Yeah, but it's more than the violence. It's also the capture of the state by narco-terrorists, which is essentially what happened. That's what he's getting at. Dr. Sean Stewart is looking forward to chat with you. Thanks, James. Sounds cool. Referendum party, upcoming live stream tomorrow. Yeah, let me take a look at what we got for upcoming live streams. Not all of them are posted. So I did confirm Athol Trollop will be on the program tomorrow at 4 p.m. South Africa time. I got that confirmation. So that's taken care of. So that's Monday the 6th. And also after that, Donald Brown. So Athol Trollop has not been posted yet. Athol will be on with me from 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock will be Donald Brown tomorrow. That's the 6th. On the 7th, on Tuesday, we've got at 3 p.m. South Africa time, 9 a.m. my time, Mark Oppenheimer, who's the new president of the Institute of Race Relations in South Africa, the IRR. He's a new president there. So Mark Oppenheimer, the advocate, will be with us. And then also after that, at 5 p.m., we have Notakela, who's from Action SA. So that's 2 Action SA candidates within a day apart. So that's Tuesday. I don't have anything booked for Wednesday yet. Today we had Johan Bosman and Neil de Beer. So that was pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that. It was Marola Media. That makes more sense, and I'm able to sort that out. So good to go. What else? Keith says, experimental nature of the past few years, and many years that led up to them, makes me think that the mindset Unit 731 was probably transferred. Anybody for other parties? Well, scientists, I have requested interviews with Corne Mulder, who agreed to do one. From Freedom Plus, Dr. Groenewald has agreed to do one. Cobus Hoffman will come on as well, but I haven't had time to schedule that one. So Freedom Plus also. And who else have I requested? UDM, Bantu Holomisa, I've not heard back from him either. Yeah, so I've asked UDM, the DA, Freedom Front Plus. I haven't gotten the IP yet. What about John Endress? Is he still in charge? In charge of what, Mr. Zero Cool? Who is John Endress? You mean from the IRR? He may be the CEO, but Mark Oppenheimer is the president. There's a distinction there. So let me take a look if that's who you're talking about. I think that's who you're talking about that. Institute for Race Relations. Yeah, John Endress is CEO. That's the guy that actually runs the day-to-day operations. President's a different position. Yep. So there you go. Does that make sense? Yeah, he's still the CEO in charge. That's correct. His spelling's a little bit different than that. Soon, Ukraine. What's this Ukraine? Yeah, load shedding returns after the elections. Yeah, there won't be any money left for diesel. There already isn't any money. I don't know where they're robbing Peter to pay Paul for that one. So anyway. Yeah. So Mark Oppenheimer, we'll have him on the program. We'll talk about a number of issues, including the Institute for Race Relations. Yep. Looking forward to that. Maybe he can put me in touch with Anthea Jeffrey, finally. Someone put me in touch with her. I've wanted to interview her for a very long time. Yep. Mr. Zero Cool. You change your username. That's funny. Yep. Nope. Still in charge. That's the guy still in charge. Anyway, folks, it's been an interesting day. We started the day off with John Bosman, who is from LTV Tech. He should have been sent. Let me see if he sent me the information. He was supposed to send me some information on that. And I don't see it from him. Nope, he didn't send it to me yet. So once he sends it to me, I'll post it so you can find his website. And then we've got, after that, we had a very interesting conversation with Neil DeBeer from the UIM. So we were at the referendum party, UIM. Next will be Action SA. We'll try to get IFP, DA, and Freedom Front Plus on here. And I'd like to try to get someone from MK. I actually wrote, let me see who I wrote to here. I have to check my mail very quickly, my sent messages. I also wrote to the candidate from Oxford for the Independent Oxford Alliance. I wrote to Mr. Yeatman and congratulating him on the third and asking if I can interview with him. I have not heard back from him, but he's probably very busy. So written the Freedom Front Plus. There's Freedom Front Plus. Who else? I wrote to the Patriotic Alliance asking for Gate McKenzie, but I've had no response on that. So I've written to the Patriotic Alliance. Info. Let's see. PA. Nope, they've not. April 30th is when I wrote to the PA. Not heard from them. Didn't respond to my message at all. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. For those who don't know, I did publish an article on Substack. I'll get you the link to that. If you're curious, go to my dashboard here. My most recent article. It's only got 49 views. Friend or foe. Okay. You post. There we go. So, all right. So let me share that with you guys here in the chat. If you want to go check it out, that's my most recent article on Substack. That hopefully will be published by U.S. Army War College War Room in advance of the election if they don't. I've got two more articles to write. One about what the outcome of the election is going to be in South Africa. And then the other one I have to do is about Memorial Day coming up here at the end of the month. Alex Hogue from Biz News, also very interesting. I have no contact with Alex Hogue. You've got to reach out to him. He should have me on his program. That would really help my program out. Chris Murray read the article. Okay. So 49 of you have read it. Thank you for that. It's not 49,000. I'd feel a lot better if 49,000 South Africans read that article, but we're off to a start anyway. Keaton's back. Hey, Sedgefield, how you doing there? Yeah, Alex Hogue. I don't have contact with him. Yeah, so an update. I still haven't heard anything back. It's a weekend about my passport. I'll check again on, hang on a second here. Oh, I just got a phone call from Janosch. Broadcasting. Yep. So dark at midday you could need a torch to see. Wow, did you have a solar eclipse? It's not that dark here. It's not great, but let me take a look if we got any solar production going on here. Yeah, just four kilowatt hours. Although it's 1 o'clock, I've got another 6 hours, so I'll probably beat yesterday's terrible results, which was just 5 kilowatt hours. 5.2, I'm at 4.2, so I'm 1 kilowatt hour away. But 2 days ago, 42.2. The day before that, 47.6, down to 5. That's a huge drop. And 46.3. So the worst day, it's still at 27 a few days back. So yeah. No, Garrett. Reach out to the guy. Tell him. Still read it. Thanks for the link. No worries, Debbie. No one's obliged to read the stuff. I just, people don't know about it. It's, a handful of people subscribe to the site. I don't update it frequently, so that might be why not a lot of people find it. Also, what I'll probably do is, when I'm done here, I might do an audio of the read the article, and then I'll put it on my Podbean. I haven't put it on Podbean in donkey years, so yeah, I'll probably do that. All right, well, folks, we're going to wrap it up here. This is the third broadcast of the day. Plus, I want to do that audio update of that article like I talked about. So thank you all, and hope he gets in touch. But it is a bank holiday. Yeah, UK, it's a bank holiday. Yeah. Yeah, no, I hope he doesn't get in touch too, because I'd love to talk to him about it and congratulate him and do an interview with him. But yeah, Monday is a bank holiday in the UK, isn't it? Yeah, they have all these bank holidays in the UK. It's weird. Anyway, the banks get too many holidays. They should work harder. Marcus Eustace has gone very quiet. Yes, he has, Sedgefield, because he's expired. Thank you all very much. Be sure to hit the like button, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you so much. God bless and have a lovely day. Don't take any pain. Has anybody seen Erica? I haven't seen Erica today. I hope she's okay. We saw Hendo quite a bit today, but we didn't see Erica today. So catch y'all later. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.